it, let the bass pump.
Go get at him, bro.
Shit, I'll get at him, bro.
Gotta get your groove on.
I'm gonna teach you guys how to shake that butt like Riordan. Now, a lot of the times I'm building my grooves out with the 909 core kit. It takes the choice out of everything because a lot of people get stuck picking the samples. It's very important to work on the rhythm, the MIDI first. So let's get things started. So here we have an 8-bar loop, and all I'm gonna do is put the open hat on the off. So I'm gonna go into the 909 and lower the. From there, the clap on the 2 and the 4. Now here's, we're gonna swag it up. We're gonna right click and now we're gonna go into 16ths. Now these new 2 sections here is where the swing of a track in most house tracks is gonna come from. So in theory, if you wanted something set in stone that you can always do, it's not wrong to say that if you're making a track like this, you can always have a snare drum hitting. When the clap hits 3 squares to the right in 16th grid. Now I'm gonna switch because that sounds like someone's getting their ass beat. I can use these features here to design the drum. Usually I like to lower down the tone and make it a lot more tight. Now from there, I can choose to do another one. But I'm gonna follow the man Riordan himself. I'm gonna do another one here, but this time I'm not gonna double. I can duplicate this. And here I'm gonna do a triple hit. Now with these ones, there's something very important that you must do, and that is control the velocity. The velocity is a parameter which is gonna let Ableton know how hard the note is being hit or how loud you want the snare to be played at the exact moment that we're altering the velocity. So what I can do is on some parts lower the velocity like so. It's gonna make it like hit like loud pop. But the thing that I've noticed with people is that when you play something a lot quieter, the tonality kind of feels like it's changing, but in theory it's not. It's just the volume's going down. When makes people hear that and go, is there pitch automation going on? Which sometimes there might be. However, just slowing down the volume, we can add a lot of like that feeling of groove. It's not robotic because everything's hitting at the same velocity, the same volume. And I'm just gonna duplicate this across like so. And yeah, you can add more variation, more micro variations if you want, but with this, you're gonna be pretty much better than most. Now this whole time I thought I didn't have swing, but I do have swing, which you can find here. Now this is what's really gonna make this basic loop that you've created just feel a lot more alive. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna grab these notes and it's gonna shift them to the right slightly. Now, by how much is dependent on the groove, the swing you decide to apply. So if we click here on the go, bring up your collection of grooves. So I'm gonna have different ones than you. Everyone's gonna have all different kinds, you know, variety. There we go. But the one I've decided to pick is the Ableton one, which is the swing 1664. 64 is the intensity of the swing, and the 16 means that it's gonna be applied to the notes that are hitting on those 16s, those pockets we were talking. Notice that when I have the timing up, you wanna bob the head, but when I have it down, sounds bleached. We need to unbleach that. Right, I added a tambourine. Which is also going to get the swing. If you were going to be applying swing to a loop, you command A the loop by clicking here, and then you command U or quantize. And you can also go into Ableton's transform section here and quantize it here. As you can see there, there's a quantize feature. And then from there, you would quantize to 16. Now, from there, what Ableton's going to do, since you're telling it that you want the swing 16 on it, which you're going to be able to see here, from there, it's going to apply the same swing we've added to this snare here. So if I were to commit it by just clicking this arrow, you're going to see that some notes are getting shifted to the right while other ones remain. And that is what's going to give you that swag. But But what if you wanted to program your own tambourine and you don't want to use mine for some reason? Just get yourself a nice tambourine sample, set at 16ths like so. Now I'm going to loop it so that I can drag it out. So it's already looped. I'm just going to drag it all the way because the sample's not really going to change. So that's where we loop it. Now from here, you can choose to move some of the notes or play with the velocities. You can also get a more natural sounding one. Now I'm going to show you guys a super clutch trick that's super easy to implement. One thing you can do is you can grab this guy and from there Command E and turn it into 2. So now you get this double hit there, which is going to add even more swag. And since you have this swing applied, this open hat gets that swing, the last one, and that makes it tasty as boom. What magic, right? And then you can play with the velocity too if you choose. I do have a reverse clap here. It's been making itself known. I'm just gonna lower the volume. The purpose of it is to lead you into that last clap, which creates a very nice swag. And another variation to it, of course, is to do it every 2 bars if you choose to. From there, I recommend grabbing loops and chopping up the parts that you like. For example, here's a very heavy loop that has a lot going on. However, I don't really want all of that, so what I can do is start to chop to get what I like. Cue it to just grab that rim that I really like the pattern. It's a very dusty loop. Now, the reason that I'm adding loops like this is because I'm trying to fill in the gaps with other style of drums to add flavor. But at the same time, sometimes we might want more. We just don't know. And that's where sample packs will come into play. You should use them as sort of inspiration where you could maybe get inspired and do your own pattern to it. Or maybe you like the tone and texture that the sample provides. Back then, I was super strict on not using top loops like this over existing drums because there's always the fear or the risk of canceling out, phasing out, which is where 2 drums that sound the same hit and it sounds rather odd. However, after being in some sessions with some more veteran producers that make some bomb music, I've noticed a lot of them don't really care about it. And when I asked, the way it was explained to me is that a lot of the times these drums will add a noise floor. And what that means is without those drums, there's like an empty gap in the song that isn't being filled. And the way they see it, it adds texture. The key thing, of course, is being aware that this can lead to some detrimental issues that will arise with the audio, where you're going to find like the audio just sounds a lot shittier. But the question is it on purpose and does it add to the character of the song? And that's really up to you to decide with your taste as a producer. From there, I can now start to replace some of the drums in the core kit. Now, let's compare. Not bad. And this one just has a lot more character on the snare drum. It doesn't sound so stock, but it doesn't mean the other snare is bad. The other snare has a bit more weight. So that actually tells me something as I compare both, and it opens up to my eyes that I maybe need a little more body on this. And of course, I'm making it a case to use the 909 kick drum from Ableton. It's just, it's like a test to yourself. If you get that thing to sound good, then you know you're a real producer. That's going to be essentially saturated to give it a bit more meat. This is going to make the kick more of a blob, but that's what we want. From there, I'm using this Neutron 4 transient shaper for the only fact that it's a multi-band. So essentially it lets me split up the kick into different frequency sides. And then from there, I can get rid of that nasty noise that whoever at Ableton recorded it. Like you can see, okay, there, we can kind of just make it a little clean. From there, I'm shortening it a bit with Kickstart, which is essentially just volume automation. The way you see it, the volume's allowed here at full, and then it slowly gets reduced. So from here, I'm using standard clip just to clip off just the tip. The key thing though is I don't want to clip the low end because anytime you clip low end, it's going to sound like poo poo. So I'm going to ease off. And there we go. That's just controlling that peak because that peak is going to trigger the compressor. So this is just a couple of things that I've done in order to make this be a lot more friendlier to compressors and the limiter on the master. Now let's talk about the processing of the drums because this is where I had one of probably the biggest revelations that I've had when it comes to these type of drums. And that is the usage. Little thing called an AK9X, which is a preamp that is created to mimic the color of an old school Akai sampler. But let me show you when I turn all this off how it sounds. Yeah, so these drums need a bit of love. Let me show you what's really going to give these drums flavor. This is the stuff they don't show you because they just don't want you to have the flavor. They're scared of your ideas because they know you are going to kill it more than they are. But let's not blow someone else's candle to light ours unless they ain't going to show us the goods. The first thing is some compression. This is something that you can write down for yourself that you can always have, and that is going to be a compressor, the glue from Ableton, that is going to be set to a 2:1 ratio. 2 for every 2 dB that goes over the threshold being hit. When the needle moves, 1 dB will come out. So it's not going to be that hard. The next thing is the attack can either be 30 or 10. It just really depends on how tight you want your drums to feel. 10 is going to allow for more gain reduction and it's going to grab onto the drum a lot quicker, meaning that it's going to be a lot shorter. On the compression, 30, you're going to allow more. And again, it's going to be very minuscule because we're talking about 10 milliseconds, 30 milliseconds here. So I'm going to go with the 10. Release, we want it fast because if we leave it, that needle takes forever to go down. And with drums, they're fast hitting, right? So we want this compressor to grab on and do its thing when needed. Now, the way this thing glues is by controlling the volume. If something goes above the threshold, meaning the clap hits a little louder than everything else because it's activating the threshold and nothing else is, then it's going to reduce the volume at that instant when the clap hits, or 10 milliseconds after it triggers it, meaning the volume gets reduced on the clap, making it feel a lot more glued because the volume isn't, like there's not a lot of change in volume inside the drum. Tape saturation is one of those things that's very beautiful. Essentially mimicking the idea of recording something to tape. And as something was recorded to tape, there was some saturation that occurred probably during like someone running it hot on it. And this one, I like to use the drum bus preset. And then from there, I'll just play with the input and the output. So for example, I'm going to lower these down right now so we don't bust.
Gotta get your groove on.
That is how, like, it sounds louder, yet it's quieter. From here, the IPS is the color, how fast this is moving, but the lower the number, the more rounded your high end's gonna get. So lower values will give you more of a mute type of drums. Good for lo-fi, I would say. 15 is a good medium of like, I'm kind of hippie and old school, but I'm kind of not. And 30 lets it all out. The high end is just gonna be. But I'm going to go with 15 because it gives us more of that 90s flavor, that roundness to the high end.
Yo, get at him, dog.
Now, as I do this, you're going to notice the claps, the drums start to sound more flat. If you want a good range for clipping, I would say no more than 2 to 4 dB of clipping occurring. This is coming from a mentor I have that masters music for a living. I did ask the question because I noticed a lot of people clip, and I'll get into some sessions with some people that clip to God's end. You can definitely clip and be all complex about it, but at the end of the day, composure is needed in music. You do so much and you can push stuff to the limit for sure. If it isn't doing anything for your music, then, you know, have the confidence to say, this is good enough. Finally, my new favorite plugin for this kind of stuff is AK9X, which is going to be something that mimics an Akai preamp. The idea of it is that when we use it, we can reduce the quality of the sound, the sample, for the sake of rounding out the high end.
Yo, get at him, dog.
What I want you to pay attention to is this section here. I'm going to turn it on and off, and you'll see what it's doing.
Yo, get at him, dog.
Now, when we do that, you notice there's a change to the way it sounds, right? And that is the missing key for me personally, as I was trying to get a similar vibe to his drums. Again, I'm not Riordan, so I'm not going to sound exactly like him. He can be the best version of himself, but I can still allow myself to learn from it. And this is one of the things I learned, that in order to sound the 90s vibe, I need to think like in the 90s. And this plugin here allows me to put the color of this preamp that was in an Akai sampler. So a preamp, you can think about it like the input, the output. For instance, on a microphone, the preamp is meant to boost the gain of the microphone. However, certain preamps will have color to them, a certain curve to them, a certain tone that when you run that mic through it and you push the preamp past a certain point, will provide that color, that flavor to it. And that's what we want with this.
Yo, get at him, dog.
You can hear the difference like that. And I know a lot of you guys are going like, oh, what the? If you guys want me to get into the bass, let me know in the comments below. I will break down the bass, the patterns of the bass, what you can learn from it to really put that into your production. That being said, if you guys want to support the channel and you liked a lot of the sounds you heard in this little demo, find them over at evilsounds.com. Minimal Nights Volume 3, a pack that pays respect to the past but isn't defined by it.